For years, Danny the Count Koker was living every car lover's dream life, millions of fans watching as he turned forgotten junk into jaw-dropping masterpieces on counting cars. But then, it all came crashing down. Lawsuits, betrayal, shocking headlines, and finally, a health crisis so severe, fans thought they might lose him forever. What really happened to Danny Koker, and why did the man who once ruled Las Vegas custom cars suddenly vanish from television? Today, we're uncovering the full story, and it's darker, messier, and far more human than most people realize. Alright, let's start from the beginning. Danny Koker wasn't born into fame, you know? Back in 1964, he came into this world in Cleveland, Ohio, and here's the thing, cars were literally in his blood. His dad worked at Ford Motor Company, so little Danny grew up surrounded by the smell of motor oil and the sound of engines revving. But get this, he wasn't just into cars. The kid had music in his soul too, which, trust me, becomes important later. So yeah, Danny's childhood was basically every gearhead's fantasy. Weekends meant tinkering with engines, learning how transmissions worked, and developing this deep, almost spiritual connection with anything that had four wheels and an engine. But here's where it gets interesting. When he was still pretty young, his family packed up and moved to Las Vegas. And that move? That changed everything. In Vegas, Danny started doing local TV work. Nothing huge at first, just small gigs, but he had this natural charisma that people couldn't ignore. He was this tall, tattooed guy with long hair who could talk about cars like they were works of art. And honestly, that's exactly what they were to him. Then came the big break. You know how sometimes life just throws you a curveball that changes everything? Well, Danny caught one hell of a curveball when he started appearing on Pawn Stars. Rick Harrison and the guys would call him in whenever they had classic cars or motorcycles come through the shop, and viewers absolutely loved this mysterious character they called the Count. The History Channel executives weren't blind, they saw something special. So in 2012, boom, Counting Cars was born. Danny went from being a guest expert to having his own show, his own shop, Count's Customs, and millions of fans hanging on his every word. The man was living the dream, building incredible custom rides and getting paid handsomely for it. But while millions were falling in love with the Count, behind the scenes, cracks were already starting to show. Okay, let's talk about Danny's collection for a minute, because this stuff is absolutely insane. We're talking about a guy who owns over 100 cars and 70 motorcycles. I mean, that's not a collection, that's basically a museum. His garage looks like something out of a movie. You want some highlights? How about his 1966 AC Cobra that's worth over $2 million? $2 million. For one car. Then there's his 1966 Mustang, and this one hits different because it belonged to his father. Danny's kept it in pristine condition as a tribute, you know? It's not just metal and chrome to him, it's family history. But here's what made Danny different from other collectors. He didn't just hoard these cars like trophies. The guy actually drove them, worked on them, lived with them. His Las Vegas home was basically car heaven, with vehicles parked everywhere like they were part of the family. And on the show, viewers got to see him transform rust buckets into absolute masterpieces. A beat-up Camaro would roll into the shop looking like it belonged in a junkyard, and Danny would wave his magic wand, or more accurately, his team's incredible skills, and out would come something that looked better than factory fresh. The ratings were through the roof. People couldn't get enough of watching Danny and his crew work their magic. Kevin Mack, Ryan Evans, Horny Mike, these guys became household names. Count's Customs was booming, merchandise was flying off the shelves, and Danny was making serious money. But all this success would soon attract the wrong kind of attention. Now here's where things start getting ugly, and I mean really ugly. Success has this nasty habit of painting a target on her back, and Danny was about to learn that lesson the hard way. It started in 2014 with what seemed like a routine custom job. A couple named Jeanette and Paul brought in their Mustang for some work. Should have been simple, right? Wrong. Things went sideways fast. The couple claimed Danny's shop damaged their car and then tried to cover it up. They sued for damages, and suddenly Danny found himself in court fighting over what should have been just another restoration project. But that was just the appetizer. In 2017, things got personal when Danny discovered that Joseph Frontiera, someone he trusted to help run his business, had been stealing from him. We're talking about $75,000 that just vanished. This wasn't some stranger robbing the place. This was someone Danny had brought into his inner circle, someone he trusted. And they stabbed him in the back. The betrayal hit Danny hard. You could see it in interviews afterward. This wasn't just about money, it was about trust. When you're in the spotlight, you depend on the people around you to have your back, and finding out someone's been robbing you blind? That changes you. Then, between 2018 and 2019, more bad news. Employees at Danny's other business, Count's Vamped Rock Bar, were caught stealing too. It was like a nightmare that just wouldn't end. Danny was getting hit from all sides, dealing with lawsuits, theft, and the constant stress of trying to keep his businesses running while vultures circled overhead. But the biggest blow wasn't from an enemy, it came from a single bad decision that nearly cost Danny everything. Alright, so here's where Danny's story takes a really dark turn. Picture this, it's 2019, and Danny gets word about a Cadillac Escalade sitting in a Las Vegas tow yard. Now, details get murky here, but according to the police report, Danny somehow ended up taking this Escalade without proper paperwork. Maybe he thought he had permission, maybe there was a miscommunication. Honestly, we'll probably never know the whole truth. But here's what we do know, the authorities didn't see it that way. They saw it as theft, plain and simple. Danny Koker, the guy millions of people watched on TV every week, was suddenly facing criminal charges. Can you imagine? One day you're America's favorite car guy, the next you're potentially looking at prison time. Now, I want you to imagine being Danny's family and friends during this time. Here's this larger-than-life guy who seemed indestructible, this rock and roll car enthusiast who could handle anything, and suddenly he's fighting for his life in a hospital bed. Fans who'd followed him for years started seeing posts on social media asking for prayers. The man who'd spent his whole career making other people's automotive dreams come true was now living everyone's worst nightmare. The heart infection was the real killer, literally. That's the kind of thing that can take someone out fast, and Danny was touch and go for a while there. But here's the thing about Danny Koker, he's tougher than he looks. The recovery was long and brutal. For a man who spent his life rebuilding cars, now it was his own body that needed rebuilding. Months of taking it slow, following doctor's orders, and probably going stir-crazy because guys like Danny aren't built to sit still. The fans rallied around him in a way that had to be both humbling and inspiring. Social media was flooded with get-well messages, people sharing their favorite Counting Cars moments, and just an outpouring of genuine love for this guy who'd entertained them for years. So where's Danny Koker today? Well, here's the thing. He's still here, still breathing, still building cars, but he's doing it differently now. You won't see him on television as much anymore. The Health Channel moved on, Counting Cars ended its run, and honestly, maybe that's for the best. Danny stepped back from the spotlight, but Count's Customs is still running in Las Vegas. If you drive by, you'll still see incredible custom work happening. The man hasn't lost his touch, he's just choosing his battles more carefully now. These days, Danny's focusing on what really matters to him. His band, Count 77, still plays regular gigs. Remember, this guy was always as much about music as he was about cars. His bar, Vamped Rock Bar, is still one of Vegas's coolest spots to catch live music. And yeah, he's still building amazing custom cars, just without the cameras rolling 24/7. The legal troubles taught him hard lessons about trust and business. The health scare reminded him that life's precious and unpredictable. And maybe, just maybe, all of that made him a better person. Here's what strikes me most about Danny's story. It's not really about the cars at all. Yeah, he built some incredible machines, made great television, and lived the kind of life most gearheads dream about. But at the end of the day, This is a story about resilience. Think about everything this guy went through: betrayal from people he trusted, legal problems that could have destroyed his career, health issues that nearly killed him, and the constant pressure of being in the public eye. Any one of those things could break someone, but Danny kept going. Today, when Danny works on a car, it's not for ratings or fame. It's for the pure love of the craft. When he plays music with his band, it's not to sell merchandise. It's because music feeds his soul. When he connects with fans who still love and support him, it's genuine, not performative. So what actually happened to Danny Koker from counting cars? The simple answer is that life happened. Real, messy, complicated, beautiful life. He went from unknown TV host and national celebrity to legal trouble to nearly dying to finding his way back to what matters most. It's not the fairy tale success story that makes for great marketing, but it's infinitely more human and relatable. Danny Koker may not be on our screens every week anymore, but his story isn't about TV fame. It's about passion, resilience, and the drive to keep moving forward, no matter how many times life tries to stall you out. If this story taught you something new about Danny Koker, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what surprised you most about his journey. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the real stories behind your favorite TV personalities. Sometimes the truth is way more interesting than what makes it on screen. Thanks for watching, and remember, everyone's got a story worth telling, even if the cameras aren't rolling.